VoiceAmerica.com.
Welcome to Crime Prevention 101 with host Susan Bartelstone. We're so happy you've joined us this weekend. Over the next hour, you'll learn the tips, tricks, and vital information that'll help you keep yourself confident and safe. Now, here's the host of Crime Prevention 101, Susan Bartelstone.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Crime Prevention 101, the personal safety radio show with the optimistic perspective on a sober subject. That's how I like to call it. And I hope that everyone had a safe and a warm week since we've been together last, because I'm telling you, it is freezing cold here in NYC where I am. So I do hope that you are, as I said, safe and warm. Now, I heard about my guest today when I was lining up guests for my live Rape Declaration Forum show, which aired on January 17th. And I just knew that I had to give her a whole show to tell her story. It's a tremendously compelling story about hiding from a stalker for almost 20 years and then coming back with a real bang. And I'm going to bring her on in just 1 second. But a quick item that crossed my desk that I thought I would mention. And I saw this article in the AARP Bulletin, for those of you out there that read it, and I read everything. I'm not telling my age, but I do read everything. And this one was titled "An Epidemic of License Plate Thefts." And evidently, what was happening periodically, especially when the gas prices went up, is that people were stealing other people's license plates, putting them on their car, going into these self-service gas stations, filling up, and taking off without paying. And if the station had a surveillance camera, they could track down the license plate, and then the rightful owner of the license plate would get charged for the gas and whatever crime it might be to run out without paying. And this isn't actually an epidemic, but I have heard from time to time of people stealing license plates for getaway cars and things like that. So here's what the suggestion was. You want to protect your license plate by securing them with a star bit or a Torx screw, Torx screw, not a Phillips head or single slot screw. Now, I have no idea what either one of those things are, but when you go in for your checkup for your car, ask them about it. Maybe they can switch the screws. All right, now, my guest today, Kathryn Keat, is an up-and-coming actor, musician, singer, songwriter. She was doing it all, and her voice has been silent for almost 20 years. She was forced to enter a victim assistance program in order to escape from a psycho former mentor and lover who had horribly abused her, stalked her, threatened to kill and dismember her, just really, really terrible things. She had to change her name. She had to change her life. And she never had a truly peaceful moment until 2005 when she was informed that her stalker had died. And then the music and the words came pouring out. And she's been speaking a lot, and she's been singing and writing. She's got a great and compelling story to tell. I can't wait for you to hear it. Kathryn, welcome to Crime Prevention 101.
Thank you so much.
What a pleasure to have you with me. And I'm going to, before I start, I want to say one other thing. To any people, any of my listeners that are survivors out there, and I say this in every show, if you've already been a survivor of the kind of crime that we're going to be talking about today or in any of the shows that I do, nothing that happened to you was your fault. And I really want you to remember that. Even if you think you used bad judgment, put yourself in a situation, left you vulnerable, whatever it was, that is never an excuse for a crime or for violence. And please, please, please call yourself a survivor, not a victim, and understand that with proper professional help, you can put what happened into perspective and get on with your life. And I think you're going to get that message today, too, from our guest. So, Kathryn, let's go back to the beginning. You were an actor, singer, songwriter on the rise. You met
in New York. Yep.
Tell me how it started.
Well, I was, had the lifelong dream of being a Broadway and music person and moved to New York City very young, and bargained to get my union card, and the director of the show, the musical director, was the man that I ended up meeting and falling in love with. And unbeknownst to me, he was schizophrenic.
Mm-hmm.
And I fell madly in love, and as things progressed, I started recognizing that he was ill, and then started trying to save him.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that, for me anyway, that was the hook that kept me in the relationship and going. And it became very violent, very very ritualistic. He had been in intelligence in Vietnam, so had certain ways of torture. And it culminated in my sister saving me from 54 days of captivity.
She intervened, right? Now, how long were you actually with Ken Ford?
I was with him for 5 years.
Mm-hmm. And the symptoms, when did the symptoms start to become apparent?
About 2.5 years into the relationship. However, had I had some education about mental disabilities or challenges, however we want to put it, I certainly, in retrospect, can look back and see that he was not completely healthy. And
mm-hmm.
I met him at 17, which goes back to you saying it's not your fault. You know, this is something that I think survivors struggle with, and certainly I struggle with always to keep reminding myself. So thank you for saying that. It's such a good thing just to keep hearing.
Yeah, it's really important, and it does take a while to sink in. I know that. That's why I say it over and over and over again. And especially, you were 17, and he was 13 or 14 years older than you, and you were. I can just kind of imagine what it was like coming to New York City to realize your dream, and here was this handsome, talented, intelligent older man, and it wasn't your fault. You got hooked in. And then this sort of thing that you're going to be able to save this person. And I think that's also a really common thing that women go through too. When they know something's wrong, they don't exactly know what, or they don't want to face what, and they think, I can fix it. I can make it right. So none of this I would ever say was your fault, and that's why I keep saying it over and over.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the culmination, though, it was 54 days that you were actually held captive, is the way you describe it?
Yeah, yes, at the end. Before he was, my sister knocked on the door. She thought we were back out on the road, and she knocked on the door and realized that we were there, and my sister, being a psychologist, didn't take long to see that Ken was in great despair and called 911, and they took him away in a straitjacket. And we flew him back to his parents, and he then came back incognito to California after calling and saying that he was going to kill me. And it luckily and unusually landed in the district attorney's office in Oakland, California.
And he had begun stalking you about that time, correct?
Yeah.
And there weren't...
Yeah, he came back. They didn't know if he was flying back or if he was on a bus. So all of Oakland, much of Oakland, got together with the DA's office and decided that this would be a case of do or die. And it had never happened. Truly, it set precedent in the United States because there were no witnesses.
Yeah,
to
stalking
anything.
was not even illegal at that point in time.
Well, not
even
the battery, even the abuse. Nothing was even discussed in courts. Domestic violence wasn't a word in 1983. people weren't speaking about it in the legal system. And victim witness, the victim witness program was 1 year old.
Wow.
And Oakland was the pilot program.
I didn't, and I'm not even sure now if every state has one. I know that every state does have stalking laws now, but finally. And we're talking 20 years ago when this happened. More than that, right?
Yeah. Every state should have a victim witness program, but not every state, I don't know how funded they are and how they're doing. But they are there for people, and they are very, very useful, and very few people know about them.
Yeah, I want to talk to you a little more about that, but let me back up 1 second. Let's go back to the trial. They didn't have anything that they could really try him with, and at the end it was a 6-month sentence in a psychiatric facility. That was and this was a really, I understand from your description of the trial, I'm going to talk a little about it. It was a very difficult trial.
It was a criminal proceeding and a civil outcome.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a jury trial, and it was very difficult.
And the best that they could do was sentence him to 6 months.
That was a miracle.
And that was a miracle. And then, but it's also woefully inadequate. But so was it during those 6 months that he was away that you actually went into the victim witness program?
Yes, I changed my name, my identity, and disappeared.
And did they guide you in doing this and tell you all the things that you had to do?
They helped me do it. A lot of what I did, I had to do myself. I had to stay aware. I had therapy through them twice a week for what would now be termed post-traumatic stress syndrome. And
they arranged that?
Oh, yeah, and they paid for it for 10 years. And this is how cool these victim witness programs are. My son, who is now 13, when he found out about this, he was very distraught because it was very difficult information for a child, and in retrospect, that's another story, right? I may not have given any information to my children. However, victim witness...
You know what? Let me stop you on that point right now, because we're coming up on our break, and I definitely want to talk about that especially when the kids found out about it. So we're going to take a quick break. We're going to be right back.
News, opinion, your voice counts. Call toll-free 1-866-472-5787. 1-866-472-5787. VoiceAmerica.com. There's a purpose revolution sweeping the world. Now more than ever before, in the midst of so many things they could do, people are asking what they should do. Since 1991, John Stanko has been helping people all over the world answer these questions. Now John is bringing his purpose message and philosophy to Voice America, where you will hear from people of purpose like John, who have found what they were created to do. Join John and his guests from around the world every week on his show, Your Purpose Quest, 6 a.m. Pacific, 9 a.m. Eastern. Right here on Voice America. After more than 17 years' experience teaching safety skills to thousands of women and men, crime prevention and personal safety expert Susan Bartelstone concluded that by thinking and responding quickly, ideally within 20 seconds, potentially violent criminal encounters can be prevented. Using techniques from many different disciplines and illustrated by 60 real-life examples and success stories, Susan shows how it's done in her new book, Think Fast and Prevent a Violent Crime, How to Respond to Danger in 20 Seconds or Less. Check out www.fightsafe.com FightSafe.com for more information. You'll also find information there on Susan's upcoming Crime Prevention 101 personal safety teleseminars. Think fast, talk fast, fight smart would stress the many opportunities you have to deter or defuse a criminal encounter and how to use your brains instead of your muscles in a fight. Look for the new book information or sign up for Susan Bartelstone's personal safety seminars at www.fightsafe.com today.
Adding fractions is nothing.
For real?
Look, these are denominators. You multiply this one so that it's the same as that, then you add them up.
Man, that's easy.
Charles Bennett dreamed of returning to the old neighborhood as a teacher, but without money for college, only half of his dream came true. He's back in the old neighborhood.
Well, enough math. I gotta deliver these sandwiches.
Please support the United Negro College Fund. A mind is a terrible thing to waste. A message from the UNCF and the Ad Council.
Have you ever thought about having your own internet talk show? Well, if you said yes, then click About Us. Then click Be a Host to get more information. Or just call Jeff Spinard at 480-294-6417.
Say that again?
480-294-6417. VoiceAmerica.com.
You're listening to Crime Prevention 101 with Susan Bartelstone. We invite you to share your stories, tips, or suggestions for topics you'd like us to cover, and Susan will address some of these on future shows. Send your story or idea to solutions@fightsafe.com. That email address again is solutions@fightsafe.com. Now back to Crime Prevention 101 with Susan Bartelstone.
Welcome back, everybody. This is Crime Prevention 101, and I'm talking with Kathryn Keat, who had to hide for 20 years from a stalker, former mentor and lover, and became a psychotic stalker. And I just want to say that don't forget to check my DearSafetySolutions.com website, because I've got more information. I've got safety tips for stalking. I've got safety tips for domestic violence. If I get a chance, I'll give out a couple during the show. But they are on my DearSafetySolutions.com website. And welcome back, Kathryn. And right before break, we were talking a little bit about the protection program that you went into. And just let's pick it up from there a little bit. They really helped you get away in the 6 months that you had from the time that Ken Ford was going to be committed to this psychiatric facility to when he came back. You had about 6 months to get out of town, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
And what did they actually help you do?
Well, they assisted me with therapy and paying for that, which was essential, with an expert who knew how to deal with somebody who had been tortured. They assisted me with any kind of money that I needed for loss of wages, because I could not work where I was working, since he knew where that was.
That's right. You couldn't perform at all, because you could be spotted even with a different name.
Done. That was all done. There was nothing and no communication with anyone. So I had to become someone else, literally. And I don't mean that I try to pretend that's in a false sense. No, I literally took on a new identity. And I just want to also say, you were a really promising musician. I mean, your whole life, you have said, was tied up in music. You've written songs for some very famous people. I mean, you really had a bright future. If you want to mention some of the people you've worked with, I had a wonderful future. I was, I'd written some off-Broadway shows, and I was working with people that now I don't know if people will know, but writing music, and I'd come out of working at the Grand Ole Opry at the time when I was young, and was working with Johnny Cash and Tennessee Ernie Ford and Tammy Wynette, and then on the Mike Douglas show as an ongoing kid. Then I was in New York, and I was studying at the Metropolitan Opera under Leona Matthews. You know, the city had opened its doors to me as a singer and a songwriter and a performer. And
you could not risk performing. You had to.
Well, I tried once, and I got spotted. I did a show in San Francisco under the direction of Michael Smuin, and someone was in the audience, and they said, "Is that Ellen Munger?" And they asked the stage manager. And the stage manager didn't know anything about it and just said, "This person wants to know if you're Ellen Munger." And I said, "Tell them no." And, of course, I, had terrible traumatic stress syndrome, and that was that.
And you had to leave it all behind. You took the name Kathryn Keat, and you went from San Francisco to L.A., and you worked in a totally different area. And I remember you saying you couldn't even look at music after a while.
No, I didn't. I packaged feature films, which means I was a glorified schlepper, and I was very good at it. I went from being a musician to a suit-wearing person going from studio to studio, and I worked for my first job was working with Herb Ritz, the photographer. So I was surrounded by Sandy Gallen, David Geffen, Madonna, everyone, and could say nothing.
All these people that could have helped you, could have been interested in you.
Oh, yeah.
I know that must have been like standing outside of a candy shop, and not being able to eat the candy, or working in a candy shop and not eating the candy.
Right, but there was no choice, so I didn't ponder it. It just was not even possible.
Did he ever come close to finding you during those 20 years?
I don't know.
Don't know. But you were never...
I can tell you what I think. Yes,
sure.
I think communication was made. I don't have proof, so my answer is I don't know.
But that's what kept you in hiding, nevertheless, all that time.
And looking constantly in every closet and behind every door. And I think the most difficult part is when, and I've spoken to so many people all over the world, just personally about this, men and women, is any kind of oddity can set off that kind of terror that the person is coming to get you. And that part of the experience for such a sustained amount of time was what I feel was so damaging and has taken such a large amount of work to repair. Because I now look at the sky for the first time. It hasn't been that long. I see the sky now without fear. Literally, I say, "Oh, a cloud," and I don't then have to look over my shoulder to make sure I'm okay.
It's a tremendous burden to be in that situation, for sure. And during that time, I know you met your husband.
I did.
And you never talked to him about what happened. And as you said, you have 2 sons.
Yes.
Let's go back to that.
Yes, and my husband has a daughter who's 26. And no, that was not mentioned to anyone. I think that there was certainly a vibe that I was unusual and cautious. And when I told them, of course I told my husband first. He, being a good Boston Italian, was as mellow as he could be. And just has been incredible. My children, my youngest child is 11, so he was much younger, but my oldest child, son, both sons, it was much more difficult for him.
And they had no idea that you could sing or that you could write music or anything like that?
No, they saw me as this packaging fanatic, on the phone with agents and stars. And I really think they'll think of me as this crazy woman who always had a phone. I mean, the creative process had stopped.
That must have actually been a shock. And how are they reacting to it now? Because now you're doing a whole different life now. You're coming back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, and just recently, a few Sundays ago, the feature came out for the first time, my own community in California, in San Francisco. So that was different than, say, Reader's Digest, which came out in 2007.
That's right. They did a big article on what happened.
Yes, and the San Francisco Chronicle did too. And Judge Dorado, who was an assistant DA at the time and is now judge, stepped up with me in the San Francisco Chronicle feature. But the one that just came out in our home was highlighting music. So it's helped shift now, and I think my children are now saying, oh, okay, we can help people and be creative and live a good life, and they are seeing me heal through music, because truly that is, for me, my breath and my happiness. I mean, truly, this is what I have been doing and always wanted since I was 5. Like, the same old story, as people say.
And we're definitely gonna hear a clip of Kathryn's also too later on in the show, because I heard it and she's fantastic, and I can't believe that for 20 years you had to be denied that. It just again goes back to what we need to do in this country to get the issues about domestic violence and stalking and all of this stuff up front and center.
Well, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
I am so strongly feeling that we must also implement an educational program to teach young children to pre-qualify love, so we can identify sooner potential perpetrators, so that these people who become stalkers and violent can be identified younger, so they can be helped. These and girls can know to ask questions and know who they're letting into their hearts. We've done it with sex. We've done it with drugs, cigarettes. These programs. We must implement this. Well,
you know that dating violence is an epidemic. It's a tremendous, it's tremendous. That young girls that they'll accept this kind of violence and consider it. Oh, that's how I know he loves me. He wouldn't be so mad if he didn't love me. It's very skewed.
It is a lack of education in the educational system from a young age that causes that, and it's ridiculous. We are so. I mean, my question is: are we that expendable? No, we are not.
No, and it's also a question of self-esteem, because if you've got it, that can help protect you from some of these, encroachments on it. When the person says, "This is how I love you," and hits you, that's where you want that backbone to come up and say, "No, that's not love. Love is
right." And if a boy is in puberty and he's having these unusually aggressive feelings happen, where some kind of disorder is looming and growing, where is it that we start identifying that? So some kind of assistance can be given so that we can begin to lessen the numbers greatly, in the next 15, 20 years.
Yeah, that's a very hard one, Kathryn, because like you said, And there was a lot of stuff involved also in the relationship that you had with Ken Ford that might even mask the symptoms of what you saw in him. You were in a hippie kind of a situation. There was drug use involved, and that's very common in other people's lives too. All right, we're coming up on our break again. Oh my God, we're going so fast. Let's take a hold. I want to talk about that a little bit and what more things that we can do for recognizing and for helping. And I got some tips, so I'll give a little tips here and there. So let's take our break. We'll be right back.
Ask the experts. Call toll-free right now, 1-866-472-5787. And ask our all-star team to answer your question. That's 1-866-472-5787.
Thank you for calling.
VoiceAmerica.com. After more than 17 years' experience teaching safety skills to thousands of women and men, crime prevention and personal safety expert Susan Bartelstone concluded that by thinking and responding quickly, ideally within 20 seconds, potentially violent criminal encounters can be prevented. Using techniques from many different disciplines and illustrated by 60 real-life examples and success stories, Susan shows how it's done in her new book, Think Fast and Prevent a Violent Crime, How to Respond to Danger in 20 Seconds or Less. Check out www.fightsafe.com for more information. You'll also find information there on Susan's upcoming Crime Prevention 101 personal safety teleseminars. Think fast, talk fast, fight smart, which stress the many opportunities you have to deter or defuse a criminal encounter and how to use your brains instead of your muscles in a fight. Look for the new book information or sign up for Susan Bartelstone's personal safety seminars at www.fightsafe.com today.
In the spirit of Have Couch Will Travel, Dr. Carol Lieberman creates a haven of sanity in an increasingly insane world. Each day we are bombarded with news of events that have never crossed our wildest nightmares. Society is spiraling out of control and everyone is reeling from it. But now there's an answer. The best way to keep sane in this insane world is to tune in to Dr. Carol's Couch on Voice America. Dr. Carol, a certified media psychiatrist, will broadcast live from her Beverly Hills office every Tuesday at 1 p.m. Pacific Time. Call or log in and get help with whatever is sending you reeling, whenever you need a soothing voice to calm and advise you. That's Dr. Carol's Couch every Tuesday at 1 p.m. Pacific Time, here on America's Voice, voiceamerica.com.
Hey, how you doing? Educational videos, top quality, right here.
You'll never hear anyone selling education on the street.
Yo, what's up, baby? Want to learn some history? I got live learning, beautiful books inside.
And don't expect anyone to just offer you an education.
Who needs a high school diploma, huh?
And fortunately, you can't buy a diploma from some guy with a briefcase. But there is one way you can get the educational skills you and your family need for free, with free family learning programs. Call 1-877-FAMLET-1 for information on free GED, computer training classes, and other family learning programs. That's 1-877-FAMLIT1.
Check it out, check it out. Want your GED right here, guaranteed, ma. Come on, check it out.
After all, you can't get your education on the street. Free family learning programs from the National Center for Family Literacy. The first step to a better life. Brought to you by the National Center for Family Literacy and the Ad Council.
Talk, talk, talk. That's all we do is talk. If you'd like to talk, call us toll-free right now at 1-866-472-5787. 1-866-472-5787.
That's it. That's it.
VoiceAmerica.com.
You're listening to Crime Prevention 101 with Susan Bartelstone. We invite you to share your stories, tips, or suggestions for topics you'd like us to cover, and Susan will address some of these on future shows. Send your story or idea to solutions@fightsafe.com. That email address again is solutions@fightsafe.com. Now back to Crime Prevention 101 with Susan Bartelstone.
Welcome back, everybody, to Crime Prevention 101. I'm Susan Bartelstone here talking with Kathryn Keat, who's come out of hiding after 20 years. I'm trying to escape from a stalker, and had to change everything about her life, and she's coming back with a vengeance. And before the break, we were talking about education and having people aware of what's going on in relationships and what's a good sign and what's not such a good sign. And then for a quick minute during our break, we were actually talking about recognizing mental illness, and I think that's a great thing if we could do it. I'm not even sure psychologists can do it all the time, and they're trained in it. But if I know you do. Have you been doing some speaking about this kind of education? What tips do you give to people when you speak?
Well, one of the main things that I feel very strongly about is this: if you feel something is amiss, stick your nose in the person's business. You know, we've all become so afraid to get involved in other people's business, but there are times when we are culpable. And, you know, you are a victim, you are a survivor, and if you are a survivor, you then become culpable if you see something going on. And I think parents, uncles, aunts, grandfathers, grandmothers must start asking questions about who their children are with. Mm-hmm. Take the extra time. We have to step up to the plate. It's our responsibility to know who our friends, who our kids are with. I mean, this, to me, if it isn't happening in the school system yet, we're just going to have to bite it and take the extra time so it happens in the home. Now, I know that is black and white, and there's all kinds of gray in that, and that's not always possible. But even
indeed, that could be a tall order, Kathryn. We do know that. You know, people have different relationships with their families, and also, you know, I don't know about you, but I know when I was 17, I thought I ruled the world. You know, I was extremely cocky. And the last thing I was going to do is let my parents know what I was doing, and especially if anything was wrong, and probably wasn't going to take their advice anyway. But I would, if I had heard you speak, if I was in a situation that resembled yours, and I'd heard you speak, mm-hmm. I might have listened.
Right.
That I might have listened to. And one of the things I was thinking of when I was sort of looking back on your story. And here you were 17. Within 2 years, you realized that there might have been something wrong, or that you realized there was something wrong with this fellow. One of the things that, you know, we do want to try and save the people we love, and we think our love will save them. And unfortunately, that's not a lesson that logic teaches you. You got to learn that one. You got to kind of learn that one in Hard Knocks. Hope it's not all hard knocks like you had. But one of the things I think that they are putting these dating violence curriculums in schools, and they are putting self-esteem curriculums in schools. They have to go hand in hand. Mm-hmm. And another simple thing, the point that you made about kind of examining the person's life that's starting to give you grief. Well, if you're 17 and he's starting to smack you or do something you don't like, or that makes you feel uncomfortable, maybe you could talk to some of his other girlfriends.
Exactly.
See what experiences they've had. Because if my mom was to tell me, no, this guy doesn't look right, like I said, I might not listen. But if his ex-girlfriend says, oh, no, he was really horrible to me, don't let it, in other words, don't just say, I can save him, my love will save him.
And I think also kids talk to their friends. And if parents can say, and it's just kind of, you know, the 100th monkey. If somebody gets through to somebody and just says, you know, if that comes up, why don't you just tell me? To their kids. So if one girl tells her 10 girlfriends, and there's been one parent who has said to one child, you know, if that happens with one of your friends, just tell me, and the child does, then the parent, someone can help. There is a lifeline that can begin, because kids will talk to kids, and the kids carry these burdens of their friends being beaten or suicidal or all these things. And It isn't for them to carry.
Now,
Go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've got a couple of good resources that I think I'm going to bring up right now. Because the other thing that teens can do besides talking to each other is they can go on the internet, and they all know how to do it. And there are a number of websites that are specifically aimed at dating violence, domestic violence, stalking, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I've got two that I think I'm going to give out right now. And by the way, I got this from a wonderful newsletter that I get. It's called defendyourself.org. And they have a little monthly newsletter that goes out. And they mention this. There's a wonderful website called loveisnotabuse.com. And this is directly aimed at teens and young adults.
Mm-hmm.
And it's got everything that we've been talking about right down there written. You can see it. If he does this, then this. If he does that, then that. If she does this, then this. Same thing. Because usually we think of it as a woman being the victim, but we know that it's not always the women that are stalked or women that are...
Of course not. No,
right.
Men, children. And, Tyra Banks is getting ready to do a big push on this. You and I should get on there.
I love it.
These girls, we have a lot of information that can help these young girls and boys avoid these experiences, because these experiences do not have to happen. My shift in my life, the path I had to go on, is so foreign to me that it is not worth it when education can avoid so much of this. Not all, but some, So there is work being done. I mean, the work you're doing is amazing. It's amazing.
Thank you so much. That's why I get up in the morning, truly.
Yeah.
Let me give another resource, Kathryn. There's a terrific website called mencanstoprape.org, and they deal not just with rape, but they deal with dating, they deal with domestic violence, and any kind of situation where men need to be told how to respect women and to be allies to women. So we've got the teen dating curriculum, dating violence handbook, loveisnotabuse.com. I've got mencanstoprape.org. And by the way, I interviewed them. They're just an amazing program. There's a show in my archives from them. Now, the National Domestic Violence Helpline, ndvh.org, has a quiz, Examine Your Relationships quiz, which will actually kind of list some of the symptoms if your relationship could lead to abuse or stalking or something, or that kind of thing that we're talking about. So it's ndvh.org, or also N like Nancy, C Charlie, V Victor, C Charlie.org, and look for the relationship quiz.
Which leads me to want to say, and I know we probably have to go out, but
we got a little time.
Okay, for everyone listening. Drugs, alcohol, though they are not to blame for domestic abuse and violence or rape, stay off of them. And if someone is involved in them, run the other direction. And number two, and I believe this very strongly, and I believe this with my own, when I went through the 12-step program, thank God, for alcohol and drugs, if you are asking yourself, am I in danger? Is this relationship bad for me, dangerous? You've answered your question.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I don't want to be black and white. There are gray areas. But if you are worrying that you are in a relationship that is dangerous for you, you've answered the question. And go take that test.
Mm-hmm.
And the drug and alcohol thing is huge.
And that actually did play a big part in kind of, I think, blinding you maybe a little bit to how serious the situation was with Ken Ford. And if I'm not mistaken, I don't think it does any good things for schizophrenics or bipolars or what was he, bipolar?
Both.
Yeah,
it's 7 personalities.
Yeah, drugs is going to be extreme. It's going to be like a real catalyst.
I never took one drug or one drink until I got in that relationship. Never thought about it. I was too busy. And that assisted me for a moment in tolerating the situation. Mm-hmm. And I never used as much as some people use, but I used enough to make sure that my ability to understand what was going on and to get out was almost impossible. I was stuck. And it's a vicious cycle, and so many teens are using now. And I know this. I'm a mother of a teenager. Mm-hmm. And it is...
Wait. Kathryn, hold that thought. We're coming up on our last break. We'll be right back, and we're going to have one of Kathryn's songs for you so you can see what kind of voice has been silenced for 20 years. So stay tuned.
Have you ever thought about having your own internet talk show? Well, if you said yes, then click About Us. Then click Be a Host to get more information. Or just call Jeff Spinard at 480-294-6417.
Say that again?
480-294-6417. VoiceAmerica.com.
Hello, we're Mike and Susan.
Hello, I'm Kathryn.
We are the March of Dimes 2008 National Ambassador family. Although Kathryn was born extremely premature with many challenges, today she is a healthy 5-year-old thanks to the March of Dimes.
I'm Don Germano, Senior Vice President of Kmart Stores. Kmart is proud to support March of Dimes' mission to help moms have full-term pregnancies and healthy babies. Please make a donation at any Kmart or at marchforbabies.org so that one day all babies are born healthy.
Divorce, child custody, support, and visitation, division of property, attorneys, court. Just the thought of divorce is stressful enough. Never mind the combative, destructive, and expensive process. Is there a better way? Yes, divorce mediation. On Divorce Mediation, Myths and Facts, host Philip Mulford, one of the country's top divorce mediators, will discuss this incredibly successful alternative. Formerly a practicing attorney, Philip will explore the myths and facts about a process that has kept his clients out of court and saved them thousands of dollars. If you aren't familiar with divorce mediation, or your lawyer has told you it's not appropriate for your case, this show is for you. After listening to Divorce Mediation, Myths and Facts, you'll tell anyone considering a divorce, go to mediation first. Divorce Mediation, changing the culture of divorce.
After more than 17 years' experience teaching safety skills to thousands of women and men, crime prevention and personal safety expert Susan Bartelstone concluded that by thinking and responding quickly, ideally within 20 seconds, potentially violent criminal encounters can be prevented. Using techniques from many different disciplines and illustrated by 60 real-life examples and success stories, Susan shows how it's done in her new book, Think Fast and Prevent a Violent Crime, How to Respond to Danger in 20 Seconds or Less. Check out www.fightsafe.com for more information. You'll also find information there on Susan's upcoming Crime Prevention 101 personal safety teleseminars. Think fast, talk fast, fight smart would stress the many opportunities you have to deter or defuse a criminal encounter and how to use your brains instead of your muscles in a fight. Look for the new book information or sign up for Susan Bartelstone's personal safety seminars at www.fightsafe.com today. News, opinion, your voice counts. Call toll-free 1-866-472-5787. 1-866-472-5787. VoiceAmerica.com.
You're listening to Crime Prevention 101 with Susan Bartelstone. We invite you to share your stories, tips, or suggestions for topics you'd like us to cover, and Susan will address some of these on future shows. Send your story or idea to solutions@fightsafe.com. That email address again is solutions@fightsafe.com. Now back to Crime Prevention 101 with Susan Bartelstone.
Welcome back, everybody. We're on our closing segment. This is Crime Prevention 101, talking with Kathryn Keat. And we were talking before the break about some of the things that people can do to if they think that they're in a difficult situation. I got just a couple more resources, and we're going to talk again with Kathryn. A lot of times, domestic violence, stalking, those things. We talked about Kathryn having to actually quit her, go into the witness program there to hide her identity. But not a lot of people may have that option. And if you still have to work and you still have to be out there, there's a very good website, endabuse.org/workplace, which you should go to immediately and get that information to your employer, because particularly if a stalker is trying to get to you and in the workplace, there are some things that the employer can do that can help protect not only you, but the employer worksite and workers, because we know that terrible things can happen there as well.
Mm. And your employer will want to help you. They want to help you. And
rather better that they help you than terminate you. So if they have ways to if they have ways to secure the workplace and secure you, that will help you keep your job. Because I think you may know this too, Kathryn. Unfortunately, what a lot of employers do is they get rid of the problem.
But they can't do that legally.
Not for that reason, but they find a way to do it.
Mm-hmm,
and for example, a lot of times if you're going to court, you're missing work, they can use that as a way. She's had to miss too much work, and we can't do it. And some of that's legitimate, some of it's not. But we can help prevent that kind of thing by giving them some tools and some options to protect the workplace.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. We are trying to go out and get into the corporations, because corporations lose so much money because of domestic abuse, and there's a lot of them now taking action to help their victims. So hopefully your show...
It costs billions, actually. I don't know the exact figure. I don't remember the exact figure, but it's huge. And and thank goodness there are some options, but we have to get them out there. One other quick stalking tip that I want to give people: really, really important to document every call or letter that the stalker sends you, and record any face-to-face contact the stalker has with you. And just a quick FYI, most stalkers are known to the person, like Kathryn's was. Mm-hmm. They are not just some stranger. That's the minority, that takes an obsession with you or with a celebrity. Most of the stalkers are known to the person. We're in a relationship with the person, boyfriend, ex-husband, whatever. Mm-hmm. So it's really important to document everything. It will help in case you do decide to prosecute. And I also want to, if the police tend to say change your phone number, and they also say get an order of protection. And my advice here is to first go to a stalking counselor or an agency like Kathryn went to the DA's office. They have all sorts of counselors. You have to know what your options are here. It's not, sometimes if you change your phone number, it causes the stalker to increase their attempts to reach you by coming to your home or by coming to your job or calling your job, which you don't want. Also, orders of protection or injunctions against harassment can make them step up their efforts to contact you. So you've got to know who you're dealing with and what you're dealing with, what all your options are before you take them. And every DA's office now can refer you to some kind of an agency.
Mm-hmm. And many of the agencies have a one-stop shop, so they will take care of everything for you right there if you are in one of the metropolitan.
Especially in San Francisco, they've got those family justice centers.
Yep.
That I also did a show about, and those are fantastic.
Yep.
There's another couple of resources I got for you. There's a great website called End Stalking in America, and their website is esia.net, and they've got all sorts of safety tips there. And I'm gonna have my safety tips on my DearSafetySolutions.com website. There's also the National Center for Victims of Crime, and they have a stalking resource center. And it's NC like Charlie, V like Victor, C like Charlie.org/S like Sugar, R Robert, C Charlie. And they've got it there. Now,
may I say also, if you have somebody who is in prison for stalking you or battering you or raping you, now is the time to get your ducks in a row in case they get out. So you must get your wits about you. And I have spoken to many people over the telephone, just as a social service, to help them get their wits about them and take the action they need to take to protect themselves and their families. And you can do that. You can successfully live.
Kathryn, do you have a website that you want to give out right now?
Yes, I do. It's www.Kathryn Keat, Keat as in Tom, S as in Sam.com. Any way you spell Kathryn will get you there. So KathrynKeats.com. My email is there. I read all my emails, and there are emails that I will answer. So if you have any questions, or I will refer you. I'm just here for service, and that's what it is.
Fantastic. All right, Kathryn, I want to play a little clip.
Great.
I want people to hear your music.
Thank you.
So let's do about a minute of it, Randy. Can we just get about a quick minute?
On my side.
Beautiful. Just beautiful. Kathryn, thank you so much for being on Crime Prevention 101 with me. We're going to stay in touch.
Yes.
For sure. And thank you again. And
thank you.
I'm going to close out now. Everybody, getting ready to end the shows today. Just don't forget that I've posted show notes for each episode on my DearSafetySolutions.com website. And I'm going to have a link to Kathryn's website there as well, so you can get it there. Don't forget, when you're on that website, check out the safety tips page. I'm going to have the stalking tips, the domestic violence tips, and so forth. They're all going to be there. Don't forget that the shows are all archived. You can go back and listen to the Men Can Stop Rape show and some of the other shows that I talked about. I also want you to email me, solutions@fightsafe.com. solutions@fightsafe.com. If you've got a question, if you've got a problem, send me your safety tips. If you've been in the stalking situations, tell me what worked. We'll put it on the air for you. Let people know. That's what I'm here to do. I've got lots of good stuff coming up for you next week. Got a couple of surprises. I don't even want to talk about it yet, but I'm just going to say right now, it would be a crime not to listen. So stay tuned and stay safe.
hope you got some useful information and inspiration this week on Crime Prevention 101. Susan Bartelstone invites you to join us again next Saturday at 11 a.m. Pacific Time and 2 p.m. Eastern Time here on Voice America. Have a great weekend and a safe weekend.